Geek Tank is supported by listeners like you.
Get your Uru hammers and your nailer guns, a sonic screwdriver or a sword +1. Use Valerian steel, it'll get you to come to the Geek Tank, to the Geek Tank, to the Geek Tank. Rocky Mountain Geek Tank.
Hi, I'm Guy.
Hi, I'm Troy.
And this is Geek Tank Live.
Your remade, rehashed, reserved sized podcast.
So we're -1 today,
Yes.
while Chelsea is out with the airplane that flew. Oh, airplane flew.
Airplane flew.
Oh, airplane flew.
Or it
they
did
better.
fly. It
Otherwise,
did.
it's 737 MAX 8, which didn't fly. Oh, that was a bad joke.
They need to get on that problem and fix that.
You know, it was an Emacs thing. I read about that. That's another one of those. It's a programming error.
Yes.
So you know that they just the whole problem was that they didn't get the DLC.
Yep, it was the newer models. They should have kept the older models where they could play offline.
Yeah, it's true. If you just, it's all the ones with wireless. Mm-hmm. That's been our problem all along. So today we're going to talk a little bit about remakes.
Yeah, we covered this a little bit in one previous episode, kinda.
But we've got the new Twilight Zone.
We've got the new Twilight Zone coming. It's out actually, and I think
Well,
there
that was
were
a different movie.
4 episodes.
That was Get Out, and that was a different movie, but it was the same.
Well, there was a movie of the Twilight Zone with Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, that was out too.
I bet
That one had a rather horrible
jump scare for you. Yes.
Yeah, I hated that one.
But you want to see something scary?
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to mess with that. No. Anyway, but it also had a horrible backstory because of the
helicopter crash.
The helicopter
Yes.
crash.
But we're not telling horrible backstories. We're talking about remakes.
We're talking about remakes.
Which could be horrible backstories, I suppose.
Well, and to be fair, that is sort of part of the remake, right? I mean that was Vic Morrow was an actor in that involved in that with 2 children that were killed by a helicopter crash. So it's a horrible thing. So there you go.
So Jordan Peele, part of the comedy duo Key and Peele, made a really awesome psychological movie called Get Out, horror psychological
Which was
movie.
where the joke that I was
Get Out came from, in case you missed it. And he currently has one out that I know you'll never see because of the jump scares called Us, that has gotten a lot of great reviews. And
Is that about us?
It's not about us, it's about us.
Okay.
And it's gotten a lot of great reviews, but I can just tell from the previews that it has tons of jump scares in it.
Yeah.
You're okay with Get Out. There's only a couple, and I can pinpoint those for you. But Us, I'm guessing, is going to have way too many for me to vet for you.
Yeah.
So,
we did good with Cabin in the Woods. I
Yes.
just watched my popcorn.
not a Jordan Peele thing, but still good.
Yeah.
But from what I've read a bunch of reviews on the Jordan Peele Twilight Zone, and it's getting kind of mixed reviews. No one's given it like glowing, awesome reviews.
That's
And
not
I've,
good.
I've not seen it yet. The first episode you can see for free on YouTube. If you just look up the Twilight Zone, the title of that episode is called The Comedian. So you can see the whole thing there. If you want to see the rest of it, it's going to be on CBS All Access, and I think they're only up to episode 4. And I think there's 10 to 12 episodes. I'm not positive. I lost my research. But in any case, although you have to pay for CBS All Access, they do have a 1-week free trial. So if you think you could binge watch all of it
And
after it's
Discovery?
all out, and all 1.5 seasons of Discovery, you might as well wait till the season 2 is finished of Discovery, and then just take a week off from work and watch all of it.
I'll be sick
Yes.
for the week.
Well,
I'm just
You
sick.
caught the Star Trek Discovery.
I hate
let's
it
not
when I have.
let's not abbreviate that. And it's however, I am really interested in watching it. I just got way too busy today to watch it before the show. But I think the problem is when you have something that's a classic that's already been done really well, trying to do anything even remotely like it, it's always going to be compared to what was good.
Well, and
Example, Into Darkness, which we try very hard to forget existed.
yeah, there wasn't that wasn't a movie.
But if somebody came to you and said, here's an infinite budget, we want you to remake Wrath of Khan, you'd go, no.
Yeah, I know. I would just like, there's nothing you can do to it. Just leave it alone.
It doesn't matter how big the budget is. No one's going to like it, no matter what I do with it. And so I feel like the Twilight Zone remake might be kind of caught in that zone of you can't give people that. What I'd really be interested is to have someone who's never seen any Twilight Zone episodes. I'd like them to watch a few episodes and I'd get their review.
Right.
And see what they think without comparing it to something they already have.
Who's never seen it. Yeah, see, I was definitely a Rod Serling sort of guy. I really liked, I mean, my dad and I would watch...
Night Gallery?
Not Night Gallery, but Twilight Zone. I mean, that's like... I mean, even... I was just down in Texas visiting my dad just this last summer, and Dad was showing my son a whole bunch of episodes of Twilight Zone. Now, Dad had weird reasons for it. Like, he was like, oh, look at this car in this episode. because that's my dad. But he was also, I mean, it's like... It's a thing that's kind of like, I don't know. It was, it seemed like I felt like it's hard. The thing about Serling is that he wrote all of them. You know, he had such a fertile imagination. And he was just such a, I don't know, I feel like he was such a one-of-a-kind, a rare sort of individual. That you're not going to find that kind of flash in the pan. I don't know. I'm worried. I mean, Peele's great. He's an amazing guy. He's very smart. But I feel like you don't find that kind of amazing brilliance that often. And if you're going to find Peele in his element, he should be in comedy. Because he's really good in comedy, or whatever. You may find him in his element in horror. You may find his element in comedy. But you're finding him spread out all over the place. And I'm worried a little bit that you're not going to find him able to pull off the same kind of phenomenal brilliance that we got from Rod Serling. You know what I mean?
Well,
I think that's the problem.
I think people are going to compare it to that. And I don't think the remake, because they did remake Twilight Zone eventually later down the road in the late 80s, I think it was.
And that wasn't as good.
And it wasn't Sterling's stories. It was other people writing the stories.
Right? And the movie wasn't as good.
Yeah.
Even with Dan Aykroyd.
Well, Dan Aykroyd's part was small. He was just a
saying.
beginner-ender part. There were definitely parts of the movie that were really good. But when you're comparing it to that type of thing, then you have a problem. Because, like, Get Out had funny moments in it, but the horror and the twist and the weirdness of it, because it could have been a Twilight Zone episode. Because it's not about supernatural. It's about just slightly beyond a scientific type thing.
Right.
It would have worked as a Twilight Zone episode if it would have worked in under 30 minutes. I don't think it would have worked in under 30 minutes. But it's just like Black Mirror. Black Mirror was compared a lot to the Twilight Zone, but just as a darker, more modern-day version of it.
Well, the Black Mirror is, I mean, all of them have a thing. Twilight Zone specifically refers to that zone, the Terminator, between day and night. Black Mirror refers to a black screen of your phone. That's what it's referring to. I mean, it's a reference,
or the television.
Yeah. It's a specific reference to something that they're after. And but it's calling to what it's talking about. Mm-hmm. And that Twilight Zone between day and night is like that. It's not day, it's not night, it's somewhere in between where you're not sure where you are. And that's the point behind the name, the Twilight Zone. It's like
several...
Black Mirror, which is talking about you're not sure where you are, mm-hmm. but it's in this middle ground of electronics.
That's the reflection of what technology does to ourselves.
Right.
There were several really famous writers for the original Twilight Zone, like Alfred Hitchcock and Ray Bradbury, and such. And I think that's the trick, is getting really good writers to write some of the new ones.
That's where Star Trek was.
One of the complaints I'd read about it, is that it leans too heavily on the original. So maybe if they can pull away from drawing from the source material and trying to redo new twists on the old episodes, if they just do 100% original new episodes, they might be able to break out from under the criticism,
Right.
possibly.
Maybe.
But it'll be interesting to see where they take it, to see what writers they bring on, and how they run with it. I was recently watching a special on CNN because they'll pick a decade and an aspect of that decade and focus on it, and they did one on TV in the 80s, and they mentioned the evolution of sitcoms, and one of the shows I know you and I both love was Moonlighting.
I did.
And I don't think they've ever done another TV show that did what Moonlighting did. I've not seen more than a couple of episodes of Supernatural, but from what I've heard about Supernatural, the way they experimented with, they did an animated episode, they did a musical episode, so they've kind of broke out of that. That reminded me of kind of how Moonlighting did, because they did they were one of the first musical episodes that I know of a show that wasn't a musical.
Right.
They did a flashback to the Renaissance Fair times. So it'd be interesting to see if they could do a modern day take on Moonlighting. I'd like to see a remake of that.
I could see that. But without Bruce Willis, how could you do it?
Bruce Willis's son?
Bruce Willis's son?
I don't know. I don't know if he has a son or not.
I was going to say, how are you going to do it? Yeah, but redoing Moonlighting without Bruce Willis. Wow, that'd be rough. So,
what comedians out there could take his place, I wonder?
And that was the other thing. If you're talking about shows from the 80s, and I know we're walking off topic. Mm-hmm. I know. You're all shocked that we're walking off topic. We're walking off topic. But Bruce Willis changed career styles. You know, we all know, most people, when I talk to them these days, they know him from Die Hard. As a Die Hard, Bruce Willis's daughter. Yeah, she could do that. See, there you go. That's the way to do it, is Bruce Willis's daughter.
Yep.
She would definitely do that.
Somebody mentioned that. For those of you listening and not actually with us live tonight.
That was not, in fact, like a stroke that I just had.
Right. Those happen later.
Yeah. But no, when I think about Moonlighting, that's my first real experience with Bruce Willis. Mm-hmm. I had to go through the phase of he's not an action hero. Mm-hmm. And so seeing him as Die Hard was shocking to me. I'm like, no, he's not an action hero. Stop doing that.
I'm scrolling back just because I checking out our live feed because my phone went away from it, so I didn't know if there's anything we needed to catch up on here with what people were saying.
We'd noticed that there was a comment that CBS All Access only has 2 episodes of Twilight Zone.
I saw that there's 4 episode titles already, though, so they at least have 4 locked and ready to go. I don't know if they have more or not. I always thought, based off of Moonlighting, that young Bruce Willis would have made an excellent Batman.
Yeah.
Based off of Moonlighting and Die Hard.
So it's interesting. It was also brought up in the chat room just now that they did a remake of Horror or the Terror at 30,000 feet.
Yeah, the original was Terror at 20,000 feet with Shatner. The remake is called Terror at 30,000 feet. I guess you get an extra 10,000 feet after all this time.
Right, but that was also with what's his name from
Third Rock.
Third Rock.
Yeah,
from the Sun. And he did it. He did that one. I'm going to think of his name.
Yeah, because you brought it up. Now I can't think of it.
Yeah, of course. But that was So to the chat room, he did the remake in the movie, and that was a markedly more interesting. I liked it in the movie because the creature was pulling pieces of the engine off and throwing it into the engine itself.
It was a combination of being a really horrific looking creature, but at the same time kind of goofy looking.
Yeah, but that also had jump scares. Lithgow. That's right.
Yeah, Lithgow. John Lithgow.
John Lithgow. Thank you. John Lithgow. See, you're looking up 30 Rock, and it's Third Rock from the Sun.
Noticed that. That's how I was changing it.
Yeah.
It would have taken too long to type in Dexter, apparently.
That's not going to help
to
you
get the
because he was only in one season.
right.
of that.
I'd have had to find that specific
You would have
season.
to have gone down.
Pretty
the
sure it
road.
was 4th season, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah,
now.
you see, you just
He was in
spin
Buckaroo
for-
Banzai though, because he had my favorite line.
Yes, he was. He was in, and he was in 2010 to bring us back to
2001,
2001,
which brings us back to our news, which the people listening to our podcast haven't.
Did not hear.
Nope, because they weren't
So, and we're not back on topic still.
there. Nope.
Okay, back
But
on
I,
topic.
but I although I haven't seen the 30,000 Feet remake, I did hear a clip of it on NPR, and it sounds like they might have gotten rid of the gremlin aspect and brought in a twist of that the main character's listening to a podcast, and the podcast is talking about how the plane mysteriously went down that the guy's on. So he's like, well, wait a minute, I'm on this plane. It hasn't mysteriously gone down. What are these people talking about?
Like as if you were on the plane, the MH17, Malaysian Air.
So it's
What would happen if you were on? I mean, somebody must have been in the writers' room and said, "What happened if you were on Malaysian Air 17 and you were listening to a podcast about finding the wreckage of Malaysian Air 17?"
and someone with that sounds like a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be creepy. That would really freak me out. I'm just saying that
So
would really
I'm
freak
curious
me
to see that one.
out. Yeah. So remakes.
back to
we're
remakes.
concentrating a little bit on Twilight Zone, but we didn't necessarily need to concentrate on
We,
Twilight Zone.
we were meant to use that as a jumping off point.
I'm fascinated by the concept because I am a Rod Serling fan, and I am a Peele fan. So I'm a fan of both of these guys, but for different things. You know what I mean? I'm like, not necessarily. I don't know. So I'm curious to see where this will go. So let's see here.
So for Star Trek Discovery, I wonder if you take the same concept, because I feel like a lot of the flack it's getting is because people are viewing it as a remake, even though it's a continuation, but it's a continuation jumping back in time. So it blurs that line between remake and continuation.
Right. Well, the biggest problem, and this is like I keep saying this every time I get into the Trekkie forums, because Trekkies are Trekkies, and they will always be Trekkies. You're never going to get an award for best art design by making your show look like a 50-year-old show that had no budget. You're just never going to do that. There's no way. So the only way you're going to be able to attract people who are willing to do the show is to say, look, what's your view of 2255? Because they've been really, they've been very loyal to the canon. I mean, there are things going on in the plot of the show that tie to Deep Space Nine. There are plot pieces that are tying in straight to the original series. And I mean, they're tying in all over the place. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. It's becoming more and more like, there are these huge, you talk about Lord of the Rings in the Silmarillion, the book that ties all of the books together. It's becoming more and more like that now because there's bits and pieces and characters that are tied all over the place. They just recently tied a major plot point in Discovery to an episode all the way out in like 4th season of Deep Space Nine or 3rd season of Deep Space Nine. So we're talking way out there. So they're not remaking anything. They're tying it all in. But it's clearly, I mean, a remake to me seems like you're like, I'm going to take the essence of this and redo it.
Well, kind of like the fan ones have done.
Right. I mean, like you've got, let's say...
Because when you have a new actor playing Kirk or Spock, that's a remake.
Well, I don't know. I mean, even then it's kind of hard. We were never going to get William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. I mean, we definitely can't get Nimoy anymore. And Shatner is 84 this year. I mean, Nichelle Nichols is on her farewell tour. She's never going to do conventions after this year. So there's no way, even if they were old enough or young enough to...
Well, to me, a remake doesn't have to be script for script. It just has to be the same characters and the same timeline. Or say, like the MacGyver remake is set in current day, so it's clearly not the old MacGyver.
Yeah, what do you do about, like, when you talk about remakes, there was, like, the Magnum P.I. remake.
Right.
Which, that's a remake.
It's a remake.
Or Battlestar Galactica. I mean, the Battlestar Galactica remake is a great example of a remake.
You mean a
It's-
great example of a good remake?
Yeah. I mean, a great example of a remake in my mind's eye.
Right.
I mean, they went all the way back. They started talking about Caprica. They started talking about the Cylon attack on Caprica. We started from the point of that, right? When you talk about Discovery is not rewriting what happened on TOS.
I wouldn't call it a straight-up remake. I'm wondering if people are using, if the critics that dislike it are using kind of a mindset of that. It feels like they're coming in with a preconceived idea of what they feel the next Trek should be.
Right.
And when it does not live up to that, that's when it gets blasted on things that you wouldn't normally blast it for if you didn't already have these other preconceived ideas.
Yeah, I think they're getting upset about things that are trappings. But I mean, let's be realistic. In the original series, in Where No Man's Gone Before, Lieutenant Tyler turned around and clicked 2 buttons, and the thing went and printed out a piece of paper, which he handed to Spock. We're not going to have printed paper.
Right.
We don't have printed paper now. I mean, I even said this in the same sort of method. Picard's coming out, the Star Trek series with Picard. There's been enough technology advances since Next Gen that if Picard were to go back to the Enterprise E, the Enterprise E would look a little archaic. My phone's a little bit more advanced than the Enterprise E. You know what I mean? So even if he went back to his own ship, it would look a little archaic and weird. You know? Really, truthfully, in order for it to look sufficiently science fiction-y, I mean, Tony Stark? Is it Tony Stark?
From Iron Man?
Yeah, from Iron Man.
Yeah.
Tony Stark's got holograms. We
Yeah.
expect
Heads-up display.
holograms, right? We expect holograms now, and that's modern day. So if Star Trek doesn't have holograms, you're kind of like going, what do we do? Go backwards? You know. So, yeah, you've got a certain amount of expectation that I think is going on in order to bring in anybody except the Trekkies.
Did they ever remake the TV series Buck Rogers?
Yes, they did.
They did?
In the 70s.
Well, wait. Okay. The 70s is the one I'm familiar with. They had the black and white Buck Rogers. Did they ever do a third one after the 70s?
No.
After the bitty 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 buck?
No.
Okay. So that was the remake of
That was the remake.
That was the remake, of course. Whoops. Just slammed everybody's deaf
Wham!
now. I wonder if they would remake that with slightly more serious slant.
I wonder. So,
I'm trying to think of old sci-fi shows that might work. In Space 1999, they'd obviously have to change it to Space 2999.
yeah. That one had a premise that I don't think anybody could just ever accept.
It was not action-y.
No. It was how could you the scientific premise of a nuclear blast on the moon that propelled the moon a billion, trillion, quadrillion, zillion, gazillion miles away, and then went through the adventures of the moon. Unfortunately, I don't think that's just a rescuable premise.
Not in a serious way.
No.
In Warhammer 40K, the orcs make spaceships out of asteroids by strapping a bunch of engines to them.
Well, that's a reasonable thought. There's nothing wrong with that thought.
Especially for orcs.
Right. Or goblins.
And then you paint
But-
the asteroid red so it goes faster.
Right. Thinking time inflation.
Yeah, they did remake, and you and I watched the first couple of episodes of Lost in Space.
Yeah, that
And
wasn't bad.
It wasn't too bad. They had
Yeah.
a very different twist on the Doctor.
Yes, Dr. Smith.
Yes.
Danger Will Robinson. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other sci-fi shows. Since
We've
we
had-
mentioned Battlestar Galactica.
We've had some good remakes that have been an interesting take. So in remakes in general, there's been a lot of, why are we remaking?
Well, the answer's money, because they already own the rights to the IP.
And I keep thinking at the top level, that's one of the things that it really boils down to. It's they own the rights, and it's a safe bet. You and I want to make Snurgleblatt, the movie,
Right.
and they don't know whether it's going to gain any traction or not. But we know that Lost in Space was popular. So, that's the thing.
Yeah, so they say, okay, your story plot idea involves these elements. We just want you to change the characters to the crew of Lost in Space.
Right.
Here you go, run with that. And writers are going to go, well, yeah, we'd like to see our thing get made, so sure, we'll change the characters.
We'll take whatever we can. Yeah.
I jotted a few notes of some upcoming remakes. They're going to do a live-action version of the Jetsons.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
I don't know. And they're going to do a series of Conan the Barbarian based off of the books, which could be good as long as it's not on like regular television.
Well, you know what that means. It's like, okay, all you actors, are you ready to have like just loincloths? Are you ready for that?
Well,
all
the
of you
actors
people
from Game
need
of
to
Thrones are going to need a job after this season anyway.
There you go.
So, and then they're redoing Bewitched of all things.
Bink, bink, bink.
Yep, with a mixed interracial family, which is a pretty interesting twist.
That is an interesting twist.
So those are just a few that I had grabbed off the internet there.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept on a remake. I don't know if I would have gone for Bewitched. That's kind of a...
Well, it's far enough back now, because to me that's the thing. You have to have enough of a time distance that you feel like there's now a need for it, that the void has been created for it to come back. Shows that have been like in the past 10, 20 years doing remakes of those just feels weird to me. So...
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to think of other shows off the top of my head. But since they're doing Bewitched, it makes me wonder if they're going to do I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah, it seems like I Dream of Jeannie was more popular than Bewitched.
I would have thought so. Maybe that's why they're... I just remembered. They did a Bewitched movie that I never saw.
That's right. I remember that.
With the comedian from the...
Who played Darren. And I can't believe that I actually know...
It's the comedian that my wife does not like.
You know that comedian? All of you people at home?
Actually, she has several comedians she doesn't like. I'm just glad I'm not one of them.
Yeah, right. I don't like you.
I know.
I don't like you either.
You better watch out. I'm wanted.
The guy from Elf.
Oh, Will Ferrell.
Yes, Will Ferrell. I believe Will Ferrell was in the Bewitched movie remake.
As Darren. That's
Darren.
right. I think so, too. Samantha and Darren. That's right. Oh, my gosh. And Nicole Kidman was Samantha. That's right. That's...
Yeah, I never saw
There's
it.
a certain amount of completely freaky about this. This whole thing. Oh, man.
But to me, that doesn't feel like one of those that's off limits, but I was never a huge fan. There are some shows that just feel like they're off limits. Like I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
How could you possibly do that without Lucille Ball?
Yeah.
So there's...
Oh, that's a good point from the chat room. Is SWAT? SWAT was a remake.
There's another one called is very similar to SWAT. And of course, I'm forgetting the name because I don't remember the show or the movie, and I saw them both.
They obviously made a very big impression on you. Yes, they were
something squad, the Mob Squad.
The Mob Squad.
It was a TV show, and then they made a movie. You know, Mission Impossible, of course, was a great TV show, and some of the movies are really good.
Like half of them. Whichever one did not involve Tom Cruise
Motorcycles.
on a couch jumping up and down. Hawaii Five-O is a remake. That's
yeah.
right. So from the chat room comes in, which actually involves Grace Park. I'm just saying. I'm just celebrity crush on Grace Park. I always have a celebrity crush on
she
Grace
was in
Park.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, sorry.
So that's one of those that
Epic
I really
celebrity
wanted to
crush
see
on
and did
Grace
not
Park.
get to see. And by the time I was going to sit down and binge watch it, it was gone from Netflix. Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really wanted to see it. I think I saw the first episode, and I was like, "Hey, guy, why are they still using giant reams of paper?"
It actually, there's.
yeah,
I said there was a reason.
There's a really
for
good
it.
reason. I'm like,
And
oh,
it was
okay.
actually a cool
I'm
reason.
not. I'm not there yet. So.
And I'm not going to tell you, and neither are you guys on the chat room. You're not going to tell them either, because it's a cool reason, and he needs to find out.
But it was gone before I could get any further, and it's one of those on my list to watch.
Yeah, that's. Well, we should maybe do that because I wouldn't mind.
Do you have them?
Yeah, I've got at least the first 2 seasons, but they're on Prime, and I've got Prime.
Oh, I've got Prime too. I didn't know that.
So
Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime, which is also a remake. Speaking of remakes, and wasn't a good remake except for Bumblebee.
Did you see it finally?
No, but everybody said I'm working on it. Give me time.
It was a good remake. Have you seen it? No.
Well, okay, so one of the, and I can actually say this now, one of the people in our Red Team Go group got picked up by IDW to work on Transformers. And so whenever she is commenting about something about Transformers, I now consider her what I would construe as very much a pro witness on this one. And her opinion is that Bumblebee is awesome and undoes some of the trash that Michael Bay did to the series. But when she says that Bumblebee is good, I believe her, and I'm waiting to see it. I mean, all the previews look great, but
did the
my
movies
biggest
get the,
problem with
did the movies get the actual voice actor from Optimus Prime?
yes,
Okay, I was going to say it sounded
Peter
like
Cullen.
him. It sounded like him, so I
Yeah,
was
it's
wondering.
Peter Cullen. Yeah. The chat room will let you borrow the Battlestar box set.
Oh, okay. Woohoo!
Which actually, that might not be a bad plan because that would be a good thing. I wouldn't mind that.
So I the rabbit hole slightly. I did share that link with you that HeroClix is doing the Transformers HeroClix game.
Yeah, I need that too.
Well, you at least need to get Bumblebee for that. So, luckily we have a guy. We have a guy who is in the market for selling stuff like that. So.
Yeah, we're going to be once again going to Kieran
Kieran
Games.
Yes.
So
get your Transformer HeroClix ready for us, Kieran.
Kieran, because I'm going to need those, as you might imagine.
And
also,
for me, I need the GI Joe ones.
Also, the Orville ones are coming out too.
Oh, yep.
Because I'll need those. I'll need all the ships from Orville. It's a horrible thing. My addiction to little plastic spaceships will extend to little plastic robots.
At least when you buy them, you have them. It's not like an addiction to crack or something that you have to keep buying the same thing over and over again.
Well, I used to collect crack, but it just sat over in the corner, and then I looked at it a lot, and I was like, and then it just deteriorated.
And it fell down into the crack and got lost forever.
It was lost forever. And then it used to be my mom's, and then I'd step on it, and then she would break her back.
Oh man! And without Medicare, that's a bad thing. So.
No, that was a different person. From the
Peanut Gallery.
From the Peanut Gallery comes Grace's Park's sister was on Enterprise, right?
We need a better name than Peanut Gallery because Peanut Gallery sounds insulting. You need to call
are you guys eating peanuts right now? Because if you guys are eating peanuts, Charles Schultz will get all upset. Anyway,
what do they call
Grace Park's sister? Grace Park's sister is actually not an actress, but Linda Park is not related to Grace Park in any way. Linda Park was the actress that played Hoshi Sato on. See, somebody in the Peanut Gallery is actually eating peanuts right now. Thank you, Brent.
Well, I'm
I
glad
appreciate
that they are not allergic to peanuts because that would have been bad.
Because Brent, if you're allergic to peanuts, then you're going to die. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It's the way it goes. So, anyway, okay, moving right along.
I'm trying to remember what the term is for military, where they repair military vehicles. It's not called a pit. They call it something else. It's basically the garage. Where
Unwrap.
I think that's the word I'm thinking of. I'll have to check with my dad because he
Your dad
worked on tanks, M1 Abrams tanks, so he'd know what they're called.
That was Unwrap.
I think there's a different name for it. But instead of Peanut Gallery, we should call it that, whatever that is.
You're talking about the front line of the Geek Tank?
Yeah, we call it like the pit crew or something.
Motor pool.
Motor pool, that's it.
Yeah, you guys are the motor pool.
Yeah, we should call you the motor pool.
MRAP. That's
MRAP.
what it is. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. MRAP.
Not that kind of rap.
Nope.
Okay.
But you guys are the motor pool.
Yeah. So it's
Well, there you go.
yeah. So
okay.
trying
Well,
to think of other remake things.
well,
off the
real
top of my
quickly,
head.
while
Yes.
you're thinking, motor pool. Yeah, you guys are stuck in the motor pool. I'm sorry, guys. For all of you guys who actually served, you guys can hate us later because everybody hates working the motor pool. So nobody likes working the motor pool.
Apparently
it's
my
almost
dad
as
did.
bad as KP. Well, I guess it depends.
Well, he was an M1 Abrams tanks mechanic specialist. So
Well, and then you're working. If you're working on A1 Abrams, then you're working on jet engines effectively, because those are turbine driven.
yeah.
So That could be fun.
I remember
so it's
when they
effectively
were
a
talking
jet.
about military tactics back with the old Shermans.
That's a diesel.
Some of the older tanks you could actually stand behind and use as cover. The newer ones go so fast you can't do that, and also they generate so much heat out of the back. It's not a good idea.
Yep.
So
Yep. So my sister had a problem with it.
with the motor pool.
No. Well, she was stuck in the motor pool. She hated the motor pool. But she also had a problem with the heat that was generated out of the M1A ones. So anyway, so it's just a thing. Let's see. What was I going to say? Oh,
See, this is what
yes.
happens
Our show is sponsored by Geekway Homes. If you need a home and you are a geek, there's only one thing you can do, and that is call Geekway Homes. And you can only call them with a rotary phone when you dial www.geekwayhomes.com. There you go. What are we getting from the chat room?
TACCOM.
TACCOM.
U.S. Army Tank Automotive and Armaments Command.
Boy, I like this motor pool. This is,
Yes, they know what they're talking about.
they know what they're talking about.
So,
It's our peeps, though. That makes some sense.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain amount of logic to this because they're
Common Supply Depot. Yes. Although if it's the military, you have to have the right forms filled out before you can.
yeah. It's gonna that's gonna have to be in triplicate. I'm
Yes.
sorry, you have to submit that in triplicate and have it get lost somewhere.
You only get your 2 issued comments per show, too.
right. It's gonna have to get lost somewhere.
There's extra comments in every MRE that you open up.
Right. There's a dark side and a light side.
Yes.
There's 2 sides to every comment. Okay, so we got about 2 minutes left.
And you don't
You
have
wanna-
to
how
be,
do you wanna
don't
wrap
have to
this
be a
up?
geek to get a Geekway home, by the way. You can be a regular non-geek.
Yeah, if you're not
But
why-
go through Geekway Homes because then we get credit for it.
Yeah, but why are you watching this show if you're not a geek?
A geek wannabe
A geekabee?
or a nerd
Is it like a bumblebee?
or a gerd
A gird?
or a neek.
A knee? Yeah. I see. That's unique. Okay. Yeah. I like the ID10T form. I used to have ID10T cables. They were irritating. Okay.
So for remakes, I
So
remember
let's
in
wrap
our,
up the remake thing.
So
We got
I think that overall, if it's done right, it has a new, fresh take on it. Remakes aren't not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think so too.
And it helps.
And some of them have been really good. I love Battlestar Galactica with Lauren Green, and I really do, but it shows its age, and I have to say that Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica is superior.
It's a neat way to get younger people into the old stuff too, with that
Yeah.
because they might start watching the old stuff, be turned off from it because it's old stuff. But if they watch the new stuff and you say, "Hey, would you like to see the original source material for this?"
Right.
Then they might have a renewed interest in wanting to sit through it.
And Hawaii 5-0 is much superior now because Grace Park. I'm just saying.
If you say so.
I'm just saying. Hey, I'm allowed my celebrity crush.
I've not watched Hawaii 5-0. I may have watched 1 or 2 of the original episodes. I haven't watched any of the new stuff.
I'm just allowed my celebrity crush.
Well, that's what screenshots are for. And calendars.
Not going to say anything. Not saying anything. Okay.
Is Grace Parks any relation to Ray Parks? Darth Maul?
Moving right along.
Or Michael Parks?
Michael Park. Yeah.
Too many parks. So we this is what happens, Chelsea, when you
Leave us alone.
Yeah.
We're without an adult and we're unsupervised again. So
suggested other terms from our motor pool for remake is refresh. I've also heard reboot,
Yeah, that's good.
which sounds Canadian.
Reboot. What's this reboot? Okay. So that's about all the time we're gonna have.
Yeah,
you know.
so don't get sick again, Chelsea, or we're just going to ramble like this for the whole
It just
episode.
gets horrible. If you want to contact us, you can talk to us at questions@RockyMountainGeekTank.com.
If you have suggestions for show topics, you can message us on Facebook.
Yep.
And be sure to message us so that way we have it like frozen in time and we won't lose it.
Because we've lost things.
If you throw it in the comments,
Our
we'll
mind is
miss
one
it.
of the things that we've missed most of all.
Yeah, without Chelsea, we're lost. She has
We're
the-
still lost.
She has the younger, fresher mind to keep us in line.
I just thought that she was just the adult in our group. That's
She's
really,
the adult with the younger, fresher mind.
Right. I
Our
didn't
minds
think it was
have retrograded.
I was going to say I don't think it's an age thing. I think she's just more of an adult. She was just
It's an age thing because her mind hasn't had long
even
enough
when
to
I was
degrade.
her age, I don't think I was as much of an adult as she. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. She's the adult in this group. We just have to be have to accept it. Okay. If you're wondering about the blinky lights, CDOT has parked out there, and they've got a lane closed. It's very funny.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this on our website, you know that you can come join us live on Facebook and make comments, and we will refer to you as the Motor Poll.
Yep, or some other comment, because we'll probably forget by next week.
Right, we do 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time Tuesdays. We start with the news, which is not part of the recorded podcast, and then we could roll in with the podcast whenever we finish with the news.
Yep, there you go. Well, that's all the time we've got for today. Be sure to join us next week at the same bad time and the same bad channel. I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And this is Geek Tank.
As always, you can email us at questions@RockyMountainGeekTank.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram for Rocky Mountain Geek Tank. Feel free to join the conversation. We look forward to hearing from you.
Geek Tank is a production of Foxblade Media and is protected under the Creative Commons 3.0 license. Your hosts today were Guy S. C. Troy Floor and Chelsea Kerr. Kevin Weibler is our engineer, and our music was composed by David Coyle. Geek Tank is funded by listeners like you. Please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Foxblade.
Ah, noogie.